We had a Google shopping cart we launched, and they came and banned it and said that it's advocating against a protected group. And the shopping cart we started with them only had a few of my films, and we're not a racial show. Even if we were, shouldn't we be allowed to sell things? Because then once you start that discrimination, it happens to everybody. I mean, we're all about bringing people together. And we got direct letter from Google saying, well, you can read the letter at prisonplanet.com. Paul Watson's written an article, Google bans DVD critical of Obama administration, both the Obama deception and Fall the Republic. We even, with other merchant accounts, went and set them up just with one video. And they sent us a letter and said, basically, no criticism of Obama because he's black. People get confused by this. I don't care if he's black, Chinese, Anglo-Saxon, Jewish. It doesn't matter. It's what he does. He's a puppet. And people get confused when I go over the math of this. Technically, he's 6% African. If you look at his 8 grandparents, one of them was half African. So he's 6%. See, so, I mean, because he's 6% black, you can't, I sell videos exposing black genocide, how they abort more black babies than are born. Endgame exposes but it doesn't matter. Even if I was bashing black people. I mean, every time I talk about Kool-Aid drinkers, that just means Jim Jones. I get news articles saying I'm saying blacks drink Kool-Aid. I don't even know what that means. It's like, you can't say government's programs corrupt or you're racist. I mean, they're playing the race card as big city machines do. And we now see Time, Newsweek, all these other publications, Microsoft's head technology officer, Bill Gates comes out and supports it. The UN supports it. Cass Sunstein writes papers saying at the White House, we've got to restrict free speech, ban criticizing man-made global warming. Newsweek comes out and says it's a conspiracy theory that ClimateGate never even happened. Webster, they are really moving ahead with Chinese-style net censorship here in the West. Are you concerned about this?
I wouldn't call it Chinese. This is American style.
This is even worse, yeah.
What you're pointing, because it's more hypocritical.
No, let me stop you. No. They want a web ID to get online, and then government indexes over cybersecurity that ban anything they want from any network. Go ahead.
But look at the context for this. It's very interesting. Google moves against you probably in the same week that Google announced a united front with the National Security Agency, practically a merger. I did a commentary. If people are interested on Tarpley.net, you can see my commentary on Russia Today.
You were also on Russia Today. We played it here, yes.
About this stuff, because the Google has always been a protege of essentially of the U.S. intelligence community.
In QTEL, and I had Steele, the former CIA technologist on. He said 4 years ago it was created by the CIA.
Right, and what people know as Google Earth was the CIA's Project Keyhole. So there it is, right? It's a
well, go back over it, because what does this signify? That the U.S. only censors when it's getting ready for war.
Well, the hypocrisy of Google is Google says they object to Chinese censorship, but they are themselves an engine of U.S. censorship, right? They've done this now to you. I can also cite this instance of Sybil Edmonds when she was going to appear before the Congress to testify. Google shut down her blog, which she located on Google, because they didn't like the contents of it, right? Because it was a challenge to the official 9/11 story and other whistleblowing themes. Notice, though, in China, they might accuse you of anti-state activity, but in the United States, you're accused of spamming or you're attacking some protected group, right? Hate speech or something like this. But this is the essence of censorship, and people need to be aware that these companies, right, from Twitter to Google, that come on the scene as wonderful paladins of free speech are in reality tools of the intelligence community. And you see, right, Twitter in Iran, Google versus China, and so forth, they are simply instruments of imperialism, quite frankly, and of mind control. And people, therefore, need to know that and certainly defend the people that are getting targeted with this stuff. That's one of the features. Let me just
add to interrupt you. Here's PC World Today. Why Google has become Microsoft's evil twin. And then it goes on to say the backlash over Google buzz reveals an even bigger problem. The people behind the search engine are deeply out of touch. So even mainline PC World is saying they are evil. We have the head of Apple, Jobs, saying their slogan, "Don't be evil," is a joke. I mean, Webster, we are getting hundreds of emails a day with screenshots of Time Warner, Cox, all over the world, banning going to InfoWars and Prison Planet. Everybody needs to go do banner hangs. They need to support our sites. What is it that my sites are doing that has them coming after us, Webster?
Well, it's a challenge to the mind control universe of these forces, right? And you can see that they feel that they've absorbed the Tea Party movement and that they've somehow brought that back under the control of traditional bankrupt Republican politicians, right? The pro-war, pro-globalist, pro-Federal Reserve Republican Party.
Palin is out supporting John McCain re-election, Rick Perry, all globalist.
Yes, and therefore they say, well, that we'll draw the line, right? In other words, we'll erect a border at the extreme of the Tea Party, you might say. Then anybody who is not a warmonger, anybody who's interested in nationalizing the Federal Reserve, anybody who's interested in a bunch of other themes is going to be declared totally heretical and beyond the pale.
Well, that's it, because the core of the Tea Party is 9/11 truth. It is patriots. It's a true populist, diverse movement. They're scared to death of the real Tea Party, so they've got to shut down the real Tea Party.
Right. They would like to make this into a kind of Ross Perot movement that's just about exclusively concerned with taxes and deficits, right, and ignores the issue of the general depression, and above all ignores unemployment, right? Not interested at all in the question of probably 30
So
million.
what do we do about the growing censorship and open calls? And, I mean, I've read the cybersecurity bill on air. It's the total takeover of all infrastructure and open censorship.
Well, the secret of the First Amendment has always been use it or lose it. In other words, the First Amendment lives through us, and it atrophies and wilts in any generation when people don't use it as vigorously as possible. So the idea is simply promote the kind of media that you represent and make that into a mass vehicle, right, a clearinghouse in exchange for all kinds of ideas. I don't think it's going to be possible for anybody to reimpose the orthodoxy on global warming. I mean, I'm sitting in a home now. I've got snow piled up about 5 feet high in my front yard that I had to shovel off the driveway and the sidewalks over a period of several days. Global warming is pretty much a dead duck here in the Mid-Atlantic.
Let me stop you. Sure, Jones comes out and says we've been cooling since 1995. All the universities are caught in red-handed fraud. Pachauri ripping everybody off. You've got the head climatologist at NASA saying we want to destroy industrial society. We have the UN saying it. Austin announces we're going to put $2.6 billion in energy taxes in the next 3 years. The whole city's going bankrupt. They're robbing everything. You say it's dead, but yeah, they don't care, Webster. They're just going ahead with it at the barrel of a gun.
Well, activism is the only cure, and above all, the kind of activism we're going to need is some organizational form. If you look at the debate inside the Tea Party, the authentic people are the people who say no to the Democrats, no to the Republicans, therefore we must consider a third party or something along these lines, independent of the bankrupt politicians of the current majority and the current minority. And therefore, I would urge people to think about this too, because if you don't translate, movement and ferment into an organizational structure that remains as a vehicle, then ultimately you're going to be reabsorbed, right? And Palin actually came out and said it. Palin said the Republican Party should absorb the Tea Party, and largely, I think they've done it, although some people would like to break off from that. The people who would like to break off from the Tea Party, I think, should now consider, along with others, right, open it up to people who are anti-war, open it up to people who are, leftists, left of center, whatever it is, right? People, if you're anti-war, anti-Federal Reserve, anti-globalization, I think that's a good basis for discussion, and then work out the differences on the other things. But you're going to need an organizational form. And again, the big question is, you can listen to Hannity, listen to Limbaugh every day. They say, we need the Republican Party, the Republican Party, the Republican Party. Anybody who is saying that and simply leave it at that, I think, is essentially giving people a bum steer.
Well, I agree with you, and there's no doubt we're going into very tumultuous times right now, and all of our voices are more important and will be listened to more than ever right now. Again, we're being censored, we're being attacked, we're being hit from all sides, and it's because we have been effective here at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. We're a platform for Ron Paul and Webster Tarpley and Sheriff Mack and countless others. Sheriff Mack's in the New York Times saying he came on this show and it energized him nationwide for speaking engagements to thousands from this show. And that's why we're under attack, because love Alex Jones or hate him. The point is, we're a launch pad from what we've built to all these different diverse ideas that are outside the very small, cloistered confines of globalist speak and this propaganda, mind control universe that Webster Tarpley was talking about. And that's why we need you more than ever.